All right, welcome everybody. This is our third episode of Wellness Decoded. I am your co-host, Alan Gonzalez.
And I'm Darlene.
And we are the co-founders of Optimum Health of Utah. I handle all the business stuff. Darlene obviously is the medical brain behind everything that we do at our practice. We really focus in on integrative health, marrying both Western and the functional sides together into what we feel has been really helping our patients. And today we are going to dive into one of probably the most polarizing topics in the wellness space right now.
Yeah.
And that's all about the GLP-1s and the GIPs. But we're really going to be diving in on the GLP-1s. That's going to be, we're going to be talking about Ozempic, Wegovy, and then obviously Mounjaro, the GIP, and really kind of talking about health versus, or height versus health. And we're going to talk a little bit about how some key points and some misnomers and things like that, and really just kind of dive into this topic. It is actually one of the probably biggest entry paths into our practice, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And I think if you think about it, weight is so important to health. And so once we start having the issues with obesity, then we start having the issues of, like diabetes and insulin resistance and metabolic disorders. And so what goes hand in hand with that is high cholesterol, hypertension. So I 100% back any type of weight management that's good for you. Okay, so let's start with that because I want to make sure that you understand that GLP-1s, they've been kind of demonized a little bit on the internet. And I want to make sure that you understand that they're amazing, actually, if you do it the right way. Okay, so that's key.
Yeah,
that's
really
what we're talking about.
So real quick, just to kind of maybe catch some people up, some people really don't understand what a GLP-1 is.
Yeah.
And so maybe we just kind of talk a little bit about what does GLP stand for, and kind of just give us a little bit of a quick background on that.
GLP-1 is a glucagon-like peptide 1. Okay, so the GLP-1 works, it's a hormone that works in the lower intestinal tract to help with metabolization of your sugars in your food and trying to get it through that barrier in order to help with nutrition, etc. The benefit of the metabolization of the sugars is what we've heard about for many, many, many years with these because of the benefits of diabetics. But diabetics have accidentally lost weight on this medication, so then they were like, hey, let's try it for weight management. But GIPs, which a GIP is a hormone that's also in Mounjaro. Mounjaro is a GLP-1 and a GIP. The GIP is a hormone that works in the upper intestinal tract. So what we've noticed is the patients that come in that have some nausea with the use of the GLP-1 only, they will actually do the GLP-1 and the GIP together. And that helps with nausea tremendously.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the evidence-based stuff we're going to have linked into the description. So please, everything that we do, everything that Darlene does is evidence-based.
Yes.
And we really want you to understand that there is a lot of people that are doing this, and there is a lot of places that you can get it. There's places that you can get it online, to ship to you with not a lot of help and guidance and things like that. So we'll talk a little bit about that and kind of go through that. So next, we kind of wanted to jump into kind of like this height versus health. And we kind of want to do a little myth busting and talk a few minutes about some certain things. So the first one is GLP-1s are just a fancy diet pill.
So let's first talk about the first study. The first study is based on New England Journal of Medicine in 2021, and it's called the Step 1 trial. So they did this in 2021 just to kind of determine whether or not this is going to be efficient for weight loss. They found that 15% of the average body weight loss with semaglutide in non-diabetics over 68 weeks was very, very successful. And so that's pretty impressive in a study that's just beginning. And so that was the beginning one, right? So are they, and it says, are they just fancy diet pills? A lot of times you can get this in oral, yes, but it's actually a shot. It is a subcutaneous shot. So you're going to give this into an area of the body in subcutaneous tissue, like the belly or the back of the arm or the inner thigh. When you do that, it should last you about 7 days in order to kind of minimize that hunger. And I will explain a little bit more of those mechanisms of action in just a few minutes. But there's another research study in 2022, a meta-analysis from JAMA. It confirmed significant and sustained weight loss. So this is important to know that you can't just do this with the medication. It's combined with your lifestyle changes. So if you don't learn while you're losing this weight, then yeah, you can have a problem with gaining some of this weight back. But the lifestyle changes alone are important to your diet and then like exercise 100%.
Well, your relationship with food, and that's the one thing for me. Coming, back when Darlene and I were first married, I was in the hospitality industry running restaurants. Mm-hmm. I grew up with food being more of this, not just sustenance, but it was more of this entertainment side of things. It was more of this lifestyle. And when I started taking this, it made me think about food differently. Mm-hmm. My brain, it rewired my brain. That's the best way I can describe it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I like to explain it this way. First of all, your stomach after breakfast is full. And then when you get to lunch, you only emptied about this much in this whole stomach. So if you eat only this much instead of this much, you're obviously going to lose weight. But the other benefit is you get to dinner and guess what? Your stomach's still like halfway to 3/4 full. So you're never releasing those hunger hormones from the stomach. So the benefit of that is you reduce the food noise in the brain. So you've got this food noise that's constantly irritating a lot of people. And specifically, in my opinion, a lot of people who have eating disorders have an overabundance of food noise. So this helps a lot with even the patients that have, like eating disorders, if it's done correctly and monitored correctly. So that is why he didn't have that food noise, and he was able to start learning and making those choices to teach us to eat as if food is fuel instead of food is for fun or for depression or anxiety, So it really does help in that sense. So literally probably my favorite part of it.
But with this and what you explained, you talked about lifestyle changes. Mm-hmm. There's other things. Do we want to touch on some of the things that, because there's probably people out there saying, I tried it, it didn't work for me, things like that. Mm-hmm. And let's talk a little bit about that before we move over to the next myth.
So when people get on it and they're getting it sent to their home and they're not given a protocol or explained the mechanisms of action, they take it and they can get sick, they can get dehydrated, they can start losing muscle mass, they can become deficient in nutrients. So we don't want any of that to happen. Mm-hmm. You want to maintain your water, you want to maintain your protein to prevent that muscle wasting, you want to exercise, and you want to maintain your nutrients. So if you do not stay nutrient positive, you will start losing that hair. You will develop what I've heard all over the place, Ozempic face. And that's where your skin kind of starts to dehydrate and you start looking a little wrinkly. And so keeping your skin plump is ideal for keeping your nutrients positive and your fluid intake up.
Yeah, so drinking plenty of water, making sure you're staying nutrient positive.
Mm-hmm. That's and not losing the muscle waste.
Yeah, and not losing.
Because if you do get some of that muscle wasting, you are going to lose the volume in your face or wherever you're noticing those wrinkles. So protein is key.
Yeah. And that may be, you're losing weight, muscle weighs more than fat, mm-hmm. right? And so you may lose all that weight, but, you're losing the wrong weight. We don't want you to lose muscle. We want you to lose the fat.
And muscle does.
So doing all this with, and we'll put a list of the greens that we use here at the office. They're called primal greens. And they've been very helpful. We all take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also love another one called athletic greens.
Yeah.
So there's a few different types out there that you can get. But I vetted both of those, and they're absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
And we're not getting any money from them either.
Yeah, we're not sponsored by them or anything like that. So,
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about myth number 2.
Okay.
Once you're off it, the weight stays off.
Discontinuing the GLP-1s often results in weight regain, unfortunately. But I'll tell you why. You've got to have a post protocol. There's another step for trial that really scared people about regaining that weight because they didn't offer a post protocol. But once they did, that post protocol included kind of mimicking the semaglutide again, keeping that stomach small and full. And how do you do that? Basically, you want to take your big 3 meals a day and split them into 6 small meals, and that'll keep your stomach small and full. If you can mimic that, then you're going to notice that your weight's going to stay off. I do feel like it acts like a diuretic because it does pull the water into the intestinal tract as well. So you do, once you're off of it, you do notice about 1 to 2 pounds of just water weight. And the reason I know this is because our patients do a before and after shape scale scan of their body to determine their weight, their muscle mass. We want to make sure they're not losing any of the muscle mass, so these shape scales are important. And then water weight.
Yeah. And talk a little bit about how people should come off of it. You talked about post protocol.
Yes. So that was, the diet is super important, but also tapering. So you don't want to go cold turkey. You're going to empty that stomach and drastically be hungry. You're going to feel those hunger pains worse than you've ever felt in your life if you don't take it down slowly. So sometimes there's not every single person on the planet that should be on this. There are some precautions we need to take. But this is awesome if you taper it down slowly. Now, can you be on a maintenance dose for the rest of your life? Sure, why not? This is a GLP-1 hormone. It's very bioidentical to what your body's already making. And if you're just on a maintenance dose, you're no longer going to lose weight. You're just going to keep that food noise away.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing. We've had so many, and sorry guys, but it's mostly guys that say, okay, I'm going to do this on my own. And, we were at our other office yesterday and I was talking to a couple patients' wives, and their husbands just cut turkey on it and went cold turkey. And now they're already scheduled to start to come back because they didn't follow your protocol of coming off of it, tapering, then maybe a maintenance, all along doing that lifestyle change, making sure that your water intake, your nutrients, all those things are in place so that you can come off of this if you wanted to.
Right. And, the reason we're doing this is to teach you. I want your business, and I want their business, but I'd much rather they would have stayed off of it and been successful.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody out there who is a nurse practitioner or doctor who is doing the GLP-1s, I would suggest making sure that your patient comes to you on a weekly basis for the first month. Do not send them home without educating them fully and seeing how they're doing, checking their vitals, doing their weigh-in every week for the first month.
Yeah, because you don't want them, because what we're seeing a lot of patients, they're getting it shipped home and they're starting at a certain amount, a certain unit amount, and then they're already predetermining before anything else, before even coming back and getting checked in, what the next dose is and what the next dose is. We've had so many patients come and you're shocked at what dose they're on, because they're not seeing a doctor or a provider or anybody, so that's a big thing.
Yeah, it's important to incrementally increase if necessary because you want them to be efficient in their weight loss, not lose weight, not spend the money on this very expensive medication, and not be successful.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be fair.
Yeah. And in future, we'll probably talk a little bit more about the difference between the compounded and then the name brand and stuff like that in another episode. We'll dive into that a little bit more. There's a lot of misnomers out there, especially currently right now with a lot of things happening and changing. So, Okay, myth number 3, anyone can take it safely.
Yeah, GLP-1s are not for everyone. First of all, you've got to look at your weight You don't want to be an 18 BMI and start taking it for sure, but it is contraindicated in people with medullary thyroid cancer. So you got to look into that, pancreatitis, severe GI conditions. Now, weight loss in and of itself, no matter how you're losing weight, can cause issues with gallbladder, therefore pancreatitis. And those are acute, so you do need to get off of it and get checked. But the people who actually have active conditions with the GI and pancreatitis and medullary issues or tumors on the thyroid, you cannot be on this. It is best to find another super healthy way to lose your weight. With a 6 meal a day diet is wonderful as well, and we can talk about that one day to kind of get you understanding the nutrition part of diets. And I am going to say this because I guarantee that we will have a lot of people questioning the diet. No, you cannot just eat whatever you want. You have got to go more of a low carb, high protein diet.
Yeah, and for me, and eat clean.
Yeah,
cleaner. Don't go out and you're down in a dozen wings or half a pizza. That type of thing, right? Because there's some side effects around this as well that we have listed here.
The nausea and the vomiting is a huge thing. I kind of wanted to explain my analogy of what you should eat. So if you're washing dishes and all the stuff that floats to the top of that sink is greasy, fried chocolate, spicy, imagine your stomach and what floats to the top of the stomach. Same thing. So stay away from that to start when you start the semaglutide, and then you'll start learning what you can incorporate into your diet. I know that I can't do spicy and high fat on semaglutide at all, but I started incorporating a little bit of hot sauce and I was fine with it. So that's not a problem. But nausea will happen if you don't listen to your body. So a lot of times with the semaglutide, it triggers you to stop eating when you're full. But if you mindless eat in front of the TV, driving, etc., before you know it, that bag of French fries is done. So it's better to sit at the table and eat without the mindless eating, and then you'll stop. You'll know when to stop. Your body will tell you when to stop, and then you will not get that nausea. And the nausea happens when the food comes up into the esophagus, and then you continue eating. And then that's when it's like, oh, you just don't feel good. So first things that I tell people to do if they do experience these side effects, sucking on a lemon or maybe a little salt on a lemon, you're golden. But some people can't handle the lemon, so you can do Tums. I wouldn't do more than 3 max in a day because that can cause constipation. But the other side effect is constipation if you don't drink enough water. 3 liters of water minimum when you start this medication. And then you should kind of stave off constipation. But if you still have constipation, our greens have probiotics and gastric enzymes in them. If those don't cut it, you need to add another probiotic to your diet.
Right. And then potential muscle loss if not paired with
protein and working out.
Yeah. You talk a little bit about proper nutrition and resistance training. Yeah. And so that's the big thing that you have to be careful.
Yeah. If people don't keep their nutrition up, so if they're nutrient deficient, then they can't go work out because this is a low calorie diet.
Yeah.
So you've got to maintain your nutrients, which is the greens, and then maintain your protein to prevent the deficiency, or your muscle wasting, so that you can go work out. And
the other one thing is for ladies and for men, but we hear more about from ladies, is hair loss.
Yeah, right. Everyone says that, and I'm like, what are your nutrients and how much are you taking in on a daily basis? So look at that, and then make sure you're doing some sort of powdered green that has all of your ABCs, your zinc, your superfood greens, your probiotics, your gastric enzymes, and a mushroom blend. A mushroom blend has those adaptogens in it, and it is amazing for your body.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right. So myth number 4 is it replaces the need for healthy eating or exercise.
Never. Never. And I guess I jumped the gun on that because I just talked about it. But everybody thinks that you can just take it and it's a miracle medication and you're done. All you have to do is take it and you're going to lose your weight. No, you've got to replace your, if you're eating a cruddy diet, replace that with some good food, fruits, vegetables, lean meats. You know, I mean, you can go ahead and have carbs once in a while, but I tell people make sure they're not the white carbs, make sure they're brown. So no white rice, no white bread, no white pasta, no white sugar. You're going to do brown bread, brown pasta, brown, like rice, etc. And that seems to be a little bit better for the body and the sugar absorption.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Now let's go ahead and go to, we're going to talk a little bit about utilizing this wisely, and who should consider GLP-1s. What are who are the primary or the ideal patient, I guess.
So the FDA has approved greater than 30 BMI is really truly the people that need it the most, but also you can do a 27 BMI with comorbidities like high cholesterol, hypertension, and diabetes. So that right there is their rule. You have to also remember that there's other things connected. And we talked about this on our last episode and the one before, hormones. Sometimes
Right.
your weight gain is related to hormones. And it is so amazing to me how people lose weight and how efficiently they lose weight when their hormones are balanced and they're on the semaglutide. So that sleep, nutrition, fitness, mental health. Mental health is extremely important. I love my psychiatrists and my counselors, and I have a little group of them that we refer to whenever we have a patient who needs that help, especially if you have an eating disorder. I don't say you can't be on semaglutide, but you need to be being treated by your counselor.
Yeah, and the other one is obviously risk of overprescribing, and via the telehealth meals, or using black market sources. What are some of the things there?
Yeah, so sometimes it's not going to be pure. It's not going to be very appropriate. One of my patients came in and told me that they had been ordering semaglutide from a place that makes it for animals, but they told them that it was okay for humans. But it didn't say that on the bottle when she got it. It only said made for animals.
Made for animal use only.
Yeah, so be careful of those things. Those sound scary to me, like they might not be very good, and maybe later on down the road you're going to find that it has some side effect that is long term. So be very careful with that.
One thing that I remember, I was talking to somebody and they were getting some stuff from other countries. Not to say, there could be, safe GLP-1s in other countries, but it was all about the price. And I wanted to talk about this a little bit, was all about the price. They were going cheap, and just be careful. A lot of times you're going to see things out there. Oh, you can start with, at $80. Well, you have to be very careful with that. Where are they getting it from? What's the dose they're starting you at? What are some of the, when somebody is going for, semaglutide and it's all about the price stuff, we see it a lot with our practice now. What are some things they need to just be careful with when they're deciding on where to go?
Well, first of all, make sure it's a legit practitioner that's prescribing it. Make sure that they're getting it from a very reputable source. But if you're getting it from a legit provider, you probably are getting it from a reputable source. Make sure it's not those, like he said, the mills, they're called the telehealth mills, and they are plenty of providers, but we don't really talk to them. So you might be getting maybe a telehealth call, but then you never hear again from them in months and months and months. I do think that's kind of dangerous. So go look around your area and find a reputable doctor or nurse practitioner that can prescribe it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's talk a little bit as we kind of wrap up the future of GLP-1s and GIPs, the trends and the insights. What are we seeing right now? What are some misnomers or things that our people that are watching should know currently right now?
Well, I do know that there's not a shortage of the Mounjaro, the tirzepatide any longer. So tirzepatide is right now being taken out of the compounding pharmacies. So keep an eye on that, and we will keep you updated. The semaglutide so far okay, if you're going to compounding pharmacies, and then just know that there are some new ones on the horizon, and I believe it's called retatrutide.
That's one.
And
There's
then
liraglutide.
liraglutide is actually on the market now.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But tirzepatide and Mounjaro being GLP-1 and GIP, they all are dual and triple agonists. They're very, very good for your body because they are mimicking what those hormones you already have in your body. So I can see, and I have seen problems with patients who take it incorrectly. So that is what we're here to talk to you about. And that's why we had this podcast. We want you to take it correctly. We want you to be healthy. We want you to lose weight efficiently. We want you to stay hydrated. We don't want you to have any muscle wasting. And we want you to stay nutrient positive.
Yeah, and please, comment, ask questions. Like if there is something that you really want to know about, please leave a comment, with this particular episode, and we may even turn that into a future episode. And we're going to be doing some live events with groups of people, patients of ours, that have decided to come on board and talk about their personal experience. And I think it's going to be really kind of cool because I honestly think that GLP-1s are awesome. It really helped me. It's helped our family. It's helped all of us. But you have to do it safely. And that's really the big thing.
For sure. So basically, in summarizing what we talked about, we truly want you to know that the GLP-1s are not magic. You have to do your work. You can't just take it and then magically be thin. You've got to eat a good diet. You've got to exercise. You got to make sure that you taper when you're ready to complete and that you stay on a really good post protocol.
Yeah, and just like we mentioned, we're definitely invite you guys to leave your questions, and we'll talk about for future follow-up. That's great that was there. And if your provider is looking to offer GLP the right way, you can check out, or if they're not, or whatever the case may be, you can always reach out to us. We're at optimumhealthmed.com. On there, you can just chat with us, ask some questions. And then there you can just book an appointment, come in, talk with Darlene, and really learn about how this works. And what Darlene does, I think that's special, is that she really listens to the individual and puts together a personalized plan in a sense.
Yeah. And I don't mind helping your provider if they don't have a protocol. I'm willing to share my protocol because it's absolutely wonderful, and I love helping other people. And I have plenty of friends and doctors and nurse practitioners that help me all the time. It is so important for our medical community to collaborate with each other.
That's important, absolutely. Yeah. So in the body of the email or the post down in the description, we'll list some references. Like we said again, please comment and ask any questions, anything like that. We'll definitely be able to help you out there. But yeah, that's episode 3. That's really our health, or height versus health. Talking about GLP-1s, which is the hot topic in the wellness industry right now. And we're going to have a lot more around this. And then we'll be talking about the hormone side and things like that, which that's the integrative side of our practice and our approach. So, all right, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. We appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you like and subscribe. And please keep this in mind. We can't do this unless we do have some feedback and some people that are subscribing, people that are liking, and telling us what you want on the next episode.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we need, a little bit of feedback.
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
And then we'll continue to do this as long as you want.
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited about what the future will bring with this particular podcast channel for future episodes. Okay?
Yeah. All right. Take care. Love you. Mwah.
Love you. See you on the next one.
Bye.